Today's session, Shrikant, what we'll do is we'll basically go through the some transactional data, and what we'll do is what are the different elements, order elements, are there in subscription order management, whether that's
Mhm.
item categories, copy controls, number ranges, and in some transactional data. So last week we had master data, which was basically business partner, contract account, which basically drives your transactional data, how it flows in the system, and also your further processing, like billing, invoicing, payments, etc. Your contract account and
Mhm.
your business partner will how it gets from SOM to CC and then to CI. So what
Yes.
we'll do today is we'll go through transactional data, which is basically your customers or clients create in the system, like an order, a solution quotation, a subscription contract, and master agreement, and then we'll move on to the order elements, basically. Okay.
Okay.
So as part of transactional data, we have these four elements. One is solution code. Then we have the subscription or provider order. So we also call it as, but we'll stick to subscription order. The
Yeah.
subscription contract, which in SOM it's called subscription contract. Then when it flows to CC and CI, it calls it's basically the provider contract that gets replicated. We have
Okay.
the master agreement, and so we'll start with solution quotation first. Okay. So
Yes.
the solution quotation, your standard transaction type, which is internal to SAP, this is SRVP. Okay. So there are
Mhm.
different transaction types for all these four types of transaction data. For solution code, we have SRVP, which is the standard transaction type. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you can use basically what you do is how we use solution quotations. It's basically to sell packaged solutions to all your customers by basically you create a quote for combinations of different types of products. You can have a bundle product. It can be a tangible product. It can be services. It can be a subscription item. It can be a sales item. So you can basically club multiple products and you can sell package solution to your customers via that solution quote. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So let's say, for example, a sales rep, which you have a call with a sales rep, and they want to sell you a tablet, basically, so that tablet or a laptop, it will include a service for installation. It will include a service contract, which is like a warranty or something, and it will also give you a subscription contract. Basically, if you want to have any cloud storage or data storage service which is available, so you
Yeah.
can design a product, let's say laptop care or notebook care, and you can package all these products within that. So you have your requirement in that. So you can select solution code to see your basically your notebook bundle kind of a thing. Okay.
Okay.
And what we can do is it can also be used to sell physical goods in combination with service transactions and with subscription order. So
Mhm.
and what happens is that you have this transaction type which is there. So what happens is once you there is an action profile which is set on this, and whatever outcome is there, as in the follow-on documents or anything, that gets triggered based on that action profile. So if you see after the solution quotation gets accepted, the follow-up transactions are basically you can have a sales order, a service order, and a service contract. It gets created automatically based on whatever parts or whatever product you have in the solution code.
Yeah.
So this is internal to the upgrade. So what happened is that solution quotation was included in 1809 and it has been improved. So basically the integration, and there were much more upgrades which were done in 1809 FPSO1 and
Yes.
also 1909 system.
Yeah.
When you click the accept button, basically there is an accept button for solution code. Your follow-up transactions will be generated, and this is implemented using the action. So the action profile of the solution quotation is this one: service underscore quotation underscore prod underscore pkg. So you can use this action profile to basically see how your follow-up or your outcome gets generated, or your of your solution code, the follow-on documents.
Okay.
Okay. This is something like which we have created. So let's say this is how a solution quotation looks. So if you're creating a solution quotation from scratch, then you have your quotation details, and inside this quotation details, you'll have at item level, you'll have this particular screen where you can add all your products. So if you see here, we have a notebook bundle which is added here. Okay, first I'll come to item level later. But in terms of your header, which is basically your quotation details, you can have this transaction ID is something which is generated after you accept it or you save it. Okay. Then
Mhm.
external reference can be anything. Let's say you want something to be linked to an external system like Salesforce or any external system. So let's say if your data is coming in from, let's say, Salesforce, and you want to link an external reference like say your purchase order number or something, you can include that in this external reference over here. Okay,
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
this field, your description is something which is self-explanatory. You just provide a description. You have a sole to party, and you also have an employee responsible, so that there are contact and employee responsible. And then in your dates, you have this particular validity. So ideally, what I see is a solution quote is usually given 6 months acceptance, as in you can have the quote valid for 6 months, but you can change the duration. That is not an issue based on
Okay.
your transaction and your let's say you have your dates in the transaction type, so you can go ahead and change that. At your
Mhm.
item level, if you see, we have this example of a notebook bundle. So you have this tablet basic, which is basically since it's a tangible product, this is a sales item. Okay, since this,
Yeah.
so a sales order gets created for this in a follow up. You have a support contract, which is kind of a service contract. Let's say you want support based on whatever, if there are any issues or anything, it's kind of
Mhm.
like, so this is a service contract item. Okay, then your notebook installation is like a one time, and this is also a service item. Okay, and
Yeah.
this is based on your product, which is the unit is basically per piece. Let's say one piece, one as per your whatever quantity is there. And your cloud storage is basically a subscription item, and this is a recurring. So let's say if you want 1 GB of data, or 100 GB cloud storage for 1 year, or for 1 month, in that case, based on whatever product you have, you can basically use that product, and based on that particular recurring service or recurring fee, your contract net value gets created.
Okay.
If you see, this is the contract account. So usually what happens is, if you see, as part of, since this is a part of a bundle, you will find that the contract account gets replicated from the product bundle itself. So whatever product bundle you add here, you can see that that gets replicated over here. So this is a
Okay.
status. There is also a status item over here. Okay, so if you see here, there is a release all items icon over here. So what you do is, once everything is done, you can release all items, and then this status goes to released. Once your status goes to released, you can either save, and then you can act. So first you save it, and then you accept it. Once you save it, you'll see that a transaction ID gets generated internally, and you can come back and you can either send it for authorization. If you, let's say, you don't have authorization to accept a solution quotation which creates follow-on documents, you just save
Mhm.
it, and then let's say you have someone like your manager or your a sales higher person in your organization who will actually review what data you have put, and then they will accept it. So once you click on accept, only then the follow-on documents get created for this. It's not that if you save it, you'll only see that it is internal to solution quote, and only a transaction ID gets generated for that particular quote. Also, so if you see here, there is a price accumulation which happens over here at bundle level. Okay, if you see there is a cumulative price which gets replicated at bundle level. So that can
Right.
be, if you see here, it is 1200 plus 60 plus 50 plus 14. It is the 649 plus 15 plus 1200 plus 50. So that is your cumulative net price for this particular solution code. Now for recurring charges, we see that we have this particular okay. So we have another one. Let's say I'm using another product. Let's say it's
Mhm.
bundle with recurring usage with the same thing. As in, if you have service, let's say if you have a subscription item and a recurring fee and a sales item. So let's say along with your laptop or your tablet, what I'm doing is I'm providing you a cloud unlimited usage, which is basically a recurring fee. If you see here, the subscription item, the item category is subscription item recurring. Add part of your usage. Again, this is basically a usage. Since this is usage, this will not have a price associated with it, because this will depend on what usage you have. So let's say, and this will flow from an external system. So this does not flow from your solution code. But you see that whatever usage comes in, it will be linked to this particular contract item which we have over here. And you have the activation fee. So this is kind of a one-off. So it's a subscription one-off item. Item overview fee, it basically, if you see, it remains same as the respective view in the subscription order. So if you see here, let's say if your solution quotation for line item 30, if I go to the item level, we have this general data. And if you see here, all this gets replicated. So basically you have a contract start date, contract end date, a net value, and all these. So you have fulfillment status, price details, contract account, all this gets replicated. This is the same for all the subscription items which you have. You'll see the
Mhm.
same header fields for everything. Let's say for usage, if you see, there is we have this particular field which is usage. You don't find any net value or gross value over here because this is usage. This comes as and when you get the usage, right? So if you see here, for this we have this technical resource ID which we were speaking about earlier, right? If you remember in the last
Uh-huh.
meeting, what I had
Yeah.
said is that whenever there is usage, always there will be a technical resource ID associated with it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you see here, we have two technical resources. So basically, and we have these particular convergent charging tables. So this is something internal to CC. But then what we see is that while usage, these particular there are different tables. Let's say you have. I'll just give you an example. Let's say in your contract you have, or in your quote in this particular as per usage, you have three levels of usage. Okay, one is, let's say you are a premium customer. If you're a regular customer, and if you're, let's say, a first time user, something like that,
Yeah.
first time user. Okay. So for premium, let's say I'm using it only for this particular, this table gets created in CC, but it can be replicated to some via the charge plan. If you see here, so we have all these tables included here. I'm using that, let's say this is a range table, which I'll be using. Range table is something which is internal to CC. We'll discuss this when we come to the CC topic. But let's say a range table is something. What happens is, based on certain ranges, you have certain rates. Okay. So let's say for your premium
Mhm.
customer, you have, these are your ranges, or this is a range of usage. If, let's say if your range is 0 to 150, the rate charged is, let's say, $2 per GB. Let's
Yeah.
say if your usage is 151 to, let's say, anything 500, then it's $1 per GB. And
Mm.
similarly, let's say from 501 to, say, 99999, it is $0.5 per GB. Similarly, we'll have a similar table for a regular customer also. So let's say, since this is for premium, there'll be a different table for a regular customer. So then this, let's say and this type of customer will always flow from the provider contract details. As in your provider contract, you'll have a characteristic, or in your product, you'll have a characteristic which you can basically configure, and you can see that in your, when you feed the particular contract, at the point of creation of that quote, you can mention that this particular user, is he a regular user or a premium user. So let's say for a regular user, you have $3, this is $2, and this is $1. Similarly, so based on what usage you get, let's say you get a usage for 100, let's say if it's 50. Okay, if you're this is, let's say this is my usage, comes in records, as in one record per usage. Okay, and this is called a consumption item. In BRIM, it's called a consumption item, or a, there is also another word for that called UDR, or a consumption data record, or CDR, or UDR, you can call it.
Yeah.
But in BRIM, we usually call it as consumption data record or a consumption item. This is like for every usage, you'll find that you'll have a consumption item associated with it. Let's say, so this is how it looks. So let's say you have in your consumption item, you'll always have these fields. You have user ID. This is a technical ID. So these three fields will always be there for every consumption record, and a
Yeah.
consumption date. Okay, these three fields will always be there, irrespective of whether it's whatever customer you have. These three fields will always be there because these three fields are needed for CC to rate that usage. In addition to this, you can have multiple custom fields. Like if you have, let's say, scale, you have plan type, anything. These are all custom fields, but these three fields will always be needed. So these are always necessary. So in
Okay.
your user ID, this is in the user ID. If you see here, this will be your ID over here. This ID, technical ID, is basically something which is internal to CC. So don't get confused between technical resource and technical ID. Technical ID is something which is internal to CC. So let's say inside CC we have a charge plan which has a technical ID of, let's say we are giving it as cloud usage. Okay, this is technical ID of cloud usage, and a consumption date. Let's say I'm giving it as today's days, which is 2204. 2023. Your usage quantity over here, you'll always have a usage quantity over here. So you'll need to have the quantity also which comes in, right?
Yeah.
Because without, you'll need to define what usage you're getting. So let's say if your usage quantity you're getting is, let's say 15, and user ID is basically this over here. So let's say you have access ID 1 and access ID 2. So let's say you have FA 198765409. So if you see here, so this user ID tells us that it is this contract. Okay, it is this solution quotation item. Technical ID tells you that it is this particular charge plan. So let's say you might also have another cloud premium or cloud, let's say CPU usage, something of that. So you might have a separate charge plan. Okay, but your user
Yeah.
ID, let's say if you have the same user ID, in this case your charges might be different, right? So it is a combination of your user ID and technical ID, which will tell you that it is this particular provider contract or this particular solution quotation item, which needs to be rated, or which this consumption item record pertains to. So you can trace back
Okay.
that, and your plan type is basically, let's say, premium or customer, premium or regular, and this usage quantity. Okay, so this comes in as rateable status initially.
Yeah.
Rateable status. Okay, so this comes, the status is rateable. So there can be different statuses like rateable, raw, unrated, or anything. Rateable
Hmm.
means that it will be rated by a CC. Now in CC, let's say if your usage quantity is 15, it tells you this is a consumption item. When your usage quantity is 15, it tells you that your rate should be $2 per GB, right? Now the bit or the billable item which gets generated when you rate this particular record is, you'll have, let's say you have your usage is 15, your rate is 2, and since it's premium, it will pertain to this particular rate. Rate is 2. Your bit, your billable amount, which gets generated as part of this particular consumption item, you'll see that it is basically 15 into 2. So this is a simple scenario, but there can be multiple scenarios, and your currency will again be whatever it is, USD. So this is how the bit gets generated. So what happens is, in this you'll always have a source transaction ID. Okay, over here
Uh-huh.
as part of every bit. Okay, so source
Yeah.
transaction ID, you will have a, let's say it's a number 11234. Okay, and the same source transaction ID, it will be there in the consumption item as well. So this basically tells you that if you want to backtrack, you can tell you that this particular billable item pertains to or is part of this particular consumption item. So this will always be there as in 1211234. You can backtrack it. In fact, in the bit in S4, let's say if you click the source transaction ID, right, it will take you to the consumption item, this particular consumption item in BRIM.
Okay.
It takes you to that. So these are two different screens. This is a, let's say over here you have a, this is specific to consumption item, and this is specific to billable item. Now it is this billable amount which gets invoiced. So let's say
Okay.
you might have multiple, let's say over the course of 1 month, you might have multiple usages. Okay, and then your billable item gets generated, let's say for as part of, let's say you have something on 22nd, you have something on 24th, 25th. Let's say you might have multiple usages, right? And it all comes in the form of one sit. So let's say you don't want the customer to receive one invoice per bit, right? So what you can do is you can put an aggregation logic, and you can sum up the all the billable amounts pertaining to one particular date of consumption or the month of consumption. So let's say whatever is there in the month of April, if you want to sum it up, inside convergent invoicing, what you can do is you can put a rule that says that bill everything or aggregate everything which is there for the month of April. So whatever amounts are getting generated for the month of April, you can aggregate it, sum it up, and then only one single invoice gets generated to the customer. So that is something which can be done.
Oh, single invoice, but will it have all the details behind it or just a
Yeah,
single line?
so that depends on your invoice form logic. So you might have, there are different forms, right? So you might
Yeah.
want that the customer would want to have a record of all these transactions. So
Yeah.
in that case, you can also put all these consumption item details over here. That this particular consumption item was there, and a part
Yeah.
of that consumption item, you can also put this particular billable amount as part of every consumption item, or the
Okay.
final amount as a part of that. So that can be done.
Okay.
So
And what
as
is
part of your, go ahead, sorry.
CDR, UDR is like your consumption item. It's like consumption date range or something, or usage
So
date range?
it's a consumption data record basically, or a usage rate data
Oh,
record.
consumption data record. Okay, got it. And
The
these
same
records are
as,
generated either automatically based on some machine reading, or it can be done manually also.
so it has to be sent via convergent mediation or any other network event. Let's say if you're using, let's say in a telecom scenario, let's say
Yeah.
if you have any telecom scenario, you might have certain network operators which are taking in all these usages, right? So telecom companies might have different network operators. So let's say
Yeah.
if it's Airtel, you might have multiple network operators, one for SMS charges, one for internet, one for calls. You might have different you
Yeah.
data network operators, right, which are basically seeing what usage you are doing. So these
Yeah.
network operators will have
Yeah.
to send these particular usage data records
Yeah.
via convergent mediation to S4, either CC or CI, either CC or CI. So
Okay.
what can happen is there are two ways in which usage data can be sent. So you can straight away send it to CC using a web service API, which integrates between SOM and CC. So this particular scenario, which I showed you, this is specific to C convergent invoicing. So you send the convergent invoicing. In convergent invoicing, you rate it. So since this is rateable status, you rate it. Once you rate it, this flows to CC, and then CC will generate this usage. But what you can do is you can straight away send it from convergent mediation to convergent charging without sending it to CI. That is also possible. You have two options. If you straight away send it to CC, in CI you will only see this particular billable item. You won't
Uh-huh.
see you won't see a consumption data record over here. Okay, that is
Yeah.
there. But you can also you have one particular parameter which needs to be set as either true or false. If that
Hmm.
parameter is set to false, which is I think chargeable item returned information. If it's set to false, you won't see this particular data. But if it's set to true, you'll see that this particular bit gets generated and this particular consumption item will also get generated. But this will never be in rateable status. It will always be in rated status. What it means is since CC has already rated it and then we are just sending a record to CI, it means that this is already rated. You don't need to rate it anymore. But if we send it the other way around, if you send it to CI first, in that case, it will be rateable status. Rateable means that you can rate it. But if you send it via CI, it will be rated. Means that you have already
So
generated a billable amount for this.
one question. So when we say rating, all we are doing really is taking the consumption record and applying a dollar value to it. Is that?
Correct. Yeah, you're basically checking whatever details, whatever you might. This is a very simple scenario. You might have multiple cases, complex cases. In that case, what you can do is CC will rating is basically multiplying the usage with a particular rate which is maintained in CC and then
Yeah.
generating the billable item. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So rating is essentially taking the consumption quantity or usage, multiplying by the rate per whatever we define, getting a billable item out of it. Okay.
correct.
And if we went from convergent mediation to CI first, then it gets rated in
Mhm.
CI and then it goes to CC, right? But if it goes to CC first, then it gets rated there and then it can then go to CI. It can go either way.
Correct. No,
Okay.
rating always happens in CC. It's just that
Mhm.
when this rateable status is there, right? So when you
Yeah.
there is an option called perform rating,
Okay.
which there. Let me see if that is there. I can show you in the screen also.
Oh, the rating always happens in CC. Okay.
This is the issue which I'm getting. I'm not sure why I'm getting every now and then. Were you also getting this, Shrikant, when you logged into the server, or is it just me? I'm
I
not
logged
sure.
in a couple of times, but there is one time it said disconnected and then I didn't connect it back. But yeah, probably I need
Okay.
to check to see whether.
Okay, see, this is the display of consumption items. You have
Yeah.
rateable, rated, raw data, accepted. So if you just click on rated, let's say if I'm doing it, giving a date range
Yeah.
from 19th to 22nd, let's say. So this, if you should, it tells you there are no data. But if I, let's say if I'm doing, there is no data. But let's say if I'm giving it as all items, let's see if we have anything, this any consumption items. We'll do a blank search. You see here, all these are consumption items over here. See, if you see this is rated, this is rated. You see, this is rateable. Now, if you do, you have to go here and there is a perform rating option. There you can also simulate and you can perform also. So you can,
Yeah.
if you click on perform rating, if let's say you have a perform rating option. If you perform that rating, if you click on perform rating, there is this execute button. So you'll have to go here. So
Yeah.
if you see this, it tells you the details basically. Okay. In this case, it tells you that there's an error. Okay. So
Yeah.
C in CI, you can also get, if you want to see the error, you can go to this log. If you see, it tells you pricing not possible due to missing provider contract reference. Now, if you see
Oh,
here, if you go back to that set, you'll see that there is no contract over here. If you see,
yeah.
for all the others, there was a contract, there was a relevant contract number. But for this, we
Yes.
don't have anything, right? So
Oh,
means that for rating, we will always need a contract reference. Otherwise, CC cannot, when you rate it, it
yeah.
takes that particular contract number or the technical ID, right? And CC
Yes.
cannot find what particular contract it is trying to rate.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say I'm doing this one, perform
These are all
rating.
the screen that we are looking at. Those are all the consumption records that you're looking at.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are all the consumption data records. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have in this screen, you will find there is a consumption item monitor, which you find everything over there. Okay, so let's say
Okay.
I'm doing this rating. Does it get rated? Okay, even this says there is an issue. Rating could not be processed. ID. Okay, let me see what is the error.
One more question. This whole
Mhm.
thing that we are doing, manually we are doing it, but we could set it up so that all of these processes are automatically done, regular, like a bad
Yes,
job.
yes. Yeah, yeah. There are lots of bad jobs you can do for like rating, invoicing,
Mhm.
even like contracts getting replicated. Let's say some of your contracts fail, right?
Yeah.
During creation. So you can also
Mhm.
set up a job where, let's say, you have a failed ODI step. So you remember there were like different ODI steps. Once your contract gets replicated to
Yeah.
CI, then it flows to CC. So that,
Yeah.
let's say there is a particular ODI step which fails. In that
Mhm.
case, you can also set up another job which will basically check whatever contracts have failed in the system, and you can re-trigger those steps. Let's say if you don't need to do it manually. Let's say if there was an error, you have maintained that master data or maintained that configuration, and you just
Yeah.
want to re-trigger all the contracts which are there in the system, all the
Yeah.
failed contracts. Let's say, so whatever there is a technically active status. If it's no, it will take that, and then whatever contracts are there which are technically active, no, it will re-trigger those steps. So yeah, that can be
Okay.
done. It's not that you have to do manual. Yeah. So
Okay.
you can set up jobs. Yeah. So after usage, we'll move to one-off. In this, so what can happen is, Shrikant, one-off charges or one-off
Mhm.
items can be modeled in multiple ways. So you can use it as two ways. You can always create a standalone one-off charge also. So
Yeah.
what it does is, in this case, it will create a subscription. It does not create a contract. What it will do is,
Yeah.
from SOM, it will directly create one particular one-time bit in CI. You won't
Mhm.
find any provider contract for that. Okay.
Okay.
In other case, what you can do is you can create a provider contract also. So one-off bit is created during provider contract distribution and is linked
Yeah.
to the contract. So you can create without any contract relation, and you can also create one with a contract relation. You have two ways you can do it.
Okay. Okay.
Assignment of a contract account. So contract accounts can be assigned directly to the items of a solution quote on the item list. So what you can do is, if there are different, there is a assigned contract account over here. If you see it, when you click on this assigned contract account, it will give you this particular screen. So you can either
Mhm.
assign contract accounts can be either assigned at header level also and item level also. So you have both
Mhm.
both the options, and
Okay.
it can be used for search when you want to search any. Let's say if you want to search solution codes having any particular contract account, you can also do that. You can also do that. Once you have your, if you see here, you have to first release all items. Okay, when you save, let's say you're saving a solution code. This is a sample solution code. You have to click on release all items. So you see in this case, your status is open over here. If you see, there was an open status. Once you release, it goes to a release status. If you see, you first release all items and then you accept your solution code.
Yeah.
Only when all the items are released, your solution code can be accepted. It's not that if this status is an open, if this is an open status, if any of your products are in open status, you cannot accept it. All the items have to be released, and then you can go and accept. So once you accept it, all your follow-on documents will get triggered.
Okay.
Now I'll move on to the next screen. Okay, so this is basically showing you how a solution quotation can be implemented. So let's say in your SOM, you have subscription order management, you have order fulfillment, you have also CC, and there is convergent invoicing and contract accounting. So let's say in your solution quote, you have these four items: a sales item, a service contract, one-time service, and a subscription. It could be either usage or recurring. Once you accept your solution code for sales, since it's a tangible product or a selling product, you get a sales order, and then this follows your SD process. Like you have a delivery, SD billing document will get created. Okay, for your service contract, again you have a when your service contract gets replicated, you have a service contract. One time will have a service order, and these will generate your billing document requests. These can be integrated with your SD billing document. Okay,
Okay.
and your subscription will create a subscription contract. Now, once this is replicated, this flows as provider contract to CI to convergent charging and convergent invoicing. Now, recurring fees, let's say if it's annual or any particular recurring service, recurring fee, like if it's any duration based, you have two ways to do it. You can either do it via the CI billing plan or via CC. But in this case, you see it's mentioned that this will get replicated via the billing plan. So once your provider contract gets created, you have certain billing plans associated with it. When that billing plan gets triggered, you get these recurring fees. Okay. And your
Mhm.
usage over here, if you see, this comes from CC or CM,
Okay.
basically. Your
Mhm.
usage fee, since this is a usage fee, this is the what this tells us that it is this particular bit. Okay. It is this bit.
Yeah.
Now, CC might get that consumption item from somewhere else, or let's say in this case, you might also see that the consumption item might be in CI, and then once you rate it, it goes from CC to CI. So over here for usage, you have this. Now, your recurring fee and your usage fee, it can be combined into a convergent invoicing billing document. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you see
Mhm.
here, you have in S4HANA sales, you have SD billing doc, and in convergent invoicing, you have a CI billing document. These two can be incorporated into one as a CI invoice document. So these are billing docs, multiple billing docs, the billing documents from multiple sources. They can be integrated using a CI invoice document. So
Okay.
you might have another case like you might have multiple SD billing documents, multiple CI billing documents. If you want to incorporate or sum it up, aggregate all these amounts in one, in convergent invoicing, you can have the service invoice document or CI invoice document. Okay. And then this gets replicated to FICA as your FICA document. So this is how your entire process works.
Should the payer be the same? Who is going to pay for that combined billing document? Should that be same across all line items, or can be a different payer?
No, it can be different. So let's say for your service contract, it might be different. For your subscription contract, it might be a different payer. That can be different.
Oh, wow. So that combined document, CA document, can have multiple payers at line item
Payers.
level.
Correct. Yes. Even in your
Oh,
SD billing, CI billing document, you might have multiple billing documents where the payers are different. So you can have that. So as a follow-up document, what you see is like for your sales order, you have a sales order, service order, a subscription contract, and a service contract. In this case, as I mentioned earlier, your standalone subscription one-off items, it can be directly sent to CI as bits. You don't need a provider contract reference for that. And this creation of a provider contract. So once your subscription contract gets created in SOM, all your provider contract, which is the reference document for that particular subscription contract, that gets created in FICA and CC from using a subscription contract via the order distribution interface or the so there are steps which get triggered once your subscription contract documents gets created. That is a provider contract, and that gets created via ODI. Any doubt till now?
no, I think it's good. Yeah.
What I can do is, okay, we are already like in 2014, so I'll do subscription order.
Yeah.
I wanted to give another example, but I think it's the same. So we can
Yeah.
use subscription order example now.
Okay.
For your subscription order, your standard transaction type is PRVO. Okay, since
Okay.
here for your solution code it was SRVP. For your
Yeah.
solution subscription order, it's PRVO. Okay, it is
Okay.
kind of, let's say your subscription order is kind of a special sales order
Yeah.
uh, which you can use to sell product bundles that consist of physical products and services. And in connection with your provider contract, it supports the sale of whatever your products and services are.
Yeah.
And you can assemble and offer these in a similar way. So it's like the same as solution quotation only, but what I've seen is like solution quotation is being widely used. Let's say for now. Okay. Now once when your subscription contract has been released, a new subscription contract is automatically created. And let's say your items with a short lifetime, let's say your sales time would stay in the order, and items with a long lifetime, let's say long duration, they become part of a contract. So your provider order, it can be used as sales order for selling products and services, for creation of a subscription contract, and also your change order for provider contract changes. So you can also make any subsequent change orders to your provider order. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is how your provider subscription order looks basically. You have PRVO, you have all these different fields, you have subscription order details, items, parties involved, date, system status. If you see, all this is specifically in BRIM, in subscription order management, you will see that there are these fields which get repetitive for quotation order as well. And at item level, you have your products basically which get added. So
Okay.
one is your once the first what you do is you add your sold to party. Based on that, your address, employee responsible, all this gets updated. Then you add your product at item level. So let's say if you are using a service product or a sales product, based on that you have your product. It's you can add your product. Then you assign your contract account. Then if you see here, there is this parties involved. Over here you have your bill to party, sold, ship to party, etc. If you want to make any changes, you can. If you want to make any change to your employee responsible or contact, you can do that also. Then you have partner functions, which is basically all this. That's the same list of parties will have all your partner functions. If you want to make any changes, you can use it over, you can change it over there. So let's say by default, if you have something which flows for that particular sold to party, and if you want to change it, you can also change it over here. You have that option of changing the partner function in at dynamic level in the subscription order. And
Okay.
then sixth is your partner ID, which gets generated. So all these will be a part of your header, subscription order header.
Okay.
See,
So one
that's how
question
once the
is,
yeah.
when would you use a subscription order was when would you use a solution quotation? What's the difference? Is it more like they are used interchangeably, or is more like solution quotation is used across different types of products, like a so tangible product, subscription, warranty, one-time installation, etc. Then you would use solution
Yeah.
quotation. Whereas if it's only specific subscription items only, you'll use a subscription order, not the tangible product.
So if there are, so if you see for bundle products, you will
Yeah,
use a solution quotation, and if you have any standalone products, then you can use a subscription order.
a
So if you
standalone.
want to use a standalone products, like let's say if you are using a sales order with just a one-time fee, then you
Okay.
can use a in any case you can use a solution quote also, but
Mhm.
product bundles are more prevalent with the use of solution quotation.
I see. So product bundles, you'll usually use solution quotation, whereas if it is standalone, they will use a subscription order. Okay.
So once your subscription order is released, in this case, what you do is you don't have any, you don't have to release any thing at item level. So at your
Mhm.
quote level, you had like you had a different this thing, like you had to release your items, right? Your status had
Yeah.
to be released, and then you had to basically go and accept the quote. In this case, you don't have anything like that. What you can do
Mhm.
is you can release your subscription order, and once you release, just save and release. In that case, your a new provider contract will get created. So let's say if you have recurring items with a longer duration, that can be
Mhm.
created with provider contract, and your sales item will get created in sales order. And one of similar to what we had in this quote, your one-off charges, it can be sent to CI directly, or they can also be linked to a subscription contract for CC to generate the bit.
Okay.
So your one-off charges, it's not that. So CC can generate all. CC can generate usage, CC can generate one time,
Yeah.
and CC can also generate recurring
Mhm.
based on whatever scenario you have. Okay. Let's say if you have simple recurring scenarios, you use billing plan. If there are very complex proration involved or anything, then you can use convergent charging. Similar one time, if you want your one time to be, if you want a one time or a one-off charge to be generated from CC, then you will always have a provider contract reference to it.
Okay.
And if you don't want to generate it using CC, then what you can do is you can straight away generate the one-off from CC to from SOM to CI. In this case, you won't have a no provider contract reference. So you will
Okay.
only see a standalone bit for that. Next is your subscription contract. So
Yeah.
subscription contract is basically a final document. Let's say your standard transaction type is your PRVC for this. And
Yeah.
it is what manages the long-term agreement for a technical service that the company offers to the provider, company offers to the customer. So it
Mhm.
is represented by a main rate plan item within a provider contract document. It can a subscription contract document may contain one or more provider contracts. And it's not that it is always dependent on each other. Like if they contains multiple provider contracts, they are not dependent. And these components are there. So if you see, you have dates, you have subscription specific data. Let's say if it's relevant to CC, you will have your charge plan assignment, you will have the billing model, fulfillment status, configuration data if your product is configurable, contract history. Let's say if you have done multiple changes to your contracts, then you can have that. sales items and fees, and also life cycle processes. If you see, if you see here, this is your subscription contract document. If you see, so this is
Hmm.
PRVC, and if you see here, there you can have multiple contracts associated with it. In this, in your subscription contract, if you see, you have a provider contract linkage over here. In this, if you see, this 1001 1195 is your subscription contract, and below this there is a provider contract. So you might have multiple provider contracts over there. In this case, let's say, if you see here, if you release this, right, one subscription contract document will get created. If you see here, because there is one and you have multiple contract provider contracts associated, you won't have just one particular your provider contract. You have multiple provider contracts available over there. In this particular case, we see that there is just one, and it also has a history. So let's say whatever provider contract changes are there, it will always be there as part of your history. If you see here, there is a history of contract, this particular contract, which is linked to this particular subscription contract document, and
Yeah.
you will have that particular contract history over there. As part of your subscription data, you see, it will tell you whether that's a contract creation or a change. If it will tell you your billing cycle, so let's say it's monthly, it's annual, quarterly, whatever it's there, and it will also tell you your payment procedure, whether it's postpaid or next is your master agreement. So your master agreement is again another type of transaction data in this thing in subscription order management. And the Fiori app which is used is Managed Master Agreement, and it focuses on the creating of a master agreement over here. So if you see here, a master agreement is basically an agreement between a service provider and a customer, and it usually manages B2B scenarios. It'll be there. What's there is that it'll be a set of doc conditions which is defined between the provider and the customer that takes effect as part of call off documents. Okay, there will be call off documents which will be available, and that is what and this set of conditions will be defined as part of this particular master agreement. And based on these set of conditions, you will have whatever call off documents are there, and it controls this particular follow. You can also have whenever there is partner settlement or anything involved, you have to use a master agreement. Your partner settlement, partner procedure, let's say if you're using, let's say, a revenue sharing or anything, you need to have a master agreement. You need to have a master agreement with. Okay.
Okay.
What does this master agreement control? It can tell you what partners are allowed to receive which products at what conditions, what price a customer will pay for a product or service, what discounts can be applied during the discounting process in CI, and also in addition for subscriptions which are invoiced in CI, in what form and to whom the invoices are presented for the products or the services received. So you can have all these four options over there. What
Okay.
partners are allowed to receive and what conditions, the price a customer will pay, your discounts, and also in addition for whatever subscriptions which have been invoiced, in what form and to whom the invoices are presented. So key
And
facts for
is it optional to have master agreement? You don't have to have, right?
correct, yeah. So let's say if you don't have any partner settlement fee, if you don't have discounts, and if you
Yeah.
don't have like different invoice forms or different invoice, let's say, types which need to be sent to different consumers based on subscriptions, then you can go with either solution quota, provider or subscription order. It's not
Okay.
necessary. So you have once you create these are different features. You create your master agreement in the at the manage master agreement create option in Fiori. Then you assign your products, assign your business partners, maintain the configuration, and then you can in cross catalog mapping is basically whatever if there is a applicable charge which gets generated from CC, you will have to map the charge plan to that particular product. Then you can have specific prices based on different master agreement. So you can define that. Then you release your master agreement items. You replicate your master agreement in FICA. You display the invoice agreements, discount agreements, and invoice list agreements. Then you display related subscription orders, contracts, and solution codes. And these are related objects to your these master agreement items. Then based on this, you can create a subscription order or a solution quotation also. From a master agreement, you can create these two. These can be called off from a master agreement. And you
Okay.
auto determine the master agreement during the creation of a solution subscription order or a solution quotation. You can do that also. Okay, this is how you create your master agreement in S4. So this is CC, this is S4. So you have, let's say you have your internal sales representative, which is creating a master agreement in S4 service. You enter your master agreement partner. So this is basically a business partner over here. Then you assign a product to that a product. So if you see if that product is applicable for a rate to be generated from CC, then you do the cross catalog mapping with the charge plan. Okay, then you configure that product. Configure a product basically means, let's say, let's take these examples for now. Now this particular a laptop can have multiple characteristics or parameters, right? Let's say if your RAM is 8 GB, 16 GB, whatever touchscreen, it can be yes or no. Okay, is it a touchscreen laptop or no? So your screen size, let's say if it's 14.6 or 15.6. Okay, the warranty service, let's say you have a warranty service option for either 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you configure, when you add this particular product at any particular transaction data, let's say if it's a quote or a particular this thing or a subscription order at item level, you will have to go and if that product at this particular product, what you have to do is there is a at your master data product is configurable check which needs to be maintained. Okay,
Hmm.
only if it's maintained as yes, then you can add all these characteristics to it. Or these are all characteristics which are part
Yeah.
of this product. All of these are characteristics. Characteristics or parameters you can call both. In CC, it's called as parameters. In SOM, you can call it as characteristics. Okay. Now, when you add that particular product over there in a subscription order, it will ask you always if a product is configurable. It will always ask you to configure the product.